Hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. In today's video, I'm going to go over the catalog flashback for the Insect or Bug weekend in March 2017. So yeah, let's start it. So if you don't know what the catalog flashback series is, it's pretty much a series where I go over a past catalog update or event just for nostalgia's sake, because it's fun to look back at some of the things that have happened in Roblox's past and how they have changed from then until now. And the catalog flashback for today is this bug themed weekend that Roblox had in 2017 when they were still uploading items weekly under a certain theme and still releasing new items. And as spring is coming up soon, I did want to go over a little bit of a spring theme here with these kind of bug themed items. So starting off right over here, they did release the caterpillar scarf for 170 Robux. They also released the ladybug wings for 1000 Robux. Then they released the enormous spider legs for 1000 Robux. They also released a new gear, which was the big bug net, for 500 Robux. They released the ladybug shades for 200 Robux. They also released the fly tie for only 50 Robux, so a pretty cheap item there. They also released the butterfly lapel pin for only 80 Robux. And the last item here was the Moth bow tie, which they released for 100 Robux. So over here was the first item, the caterpillar scarf, which released for 170 Robux. It is still on sale, and actually all of these items are still available, so if you do see something here that you never know existed and it might be interesting, then all of these items are still available here from their original release date almost a decade ago. But this caterpillar scarf is actually pretty cute. It has a little head here, and the actual scarf is the body of the caterpillar, so it's a pretty cute item for spring here, and definitely a pretty nice theme for a scarf. I think it's always fun when they take a regular kind of accessory and put a fun theme on it, so I think this one turned out pretty well. So a pretty cool new item here that they released as a part of this weekend. And this is how it looks like on a character, so pretty much how you would expect a scarf to go around the neck area. The next one here was the ladybug wings. These are also pretty interesting. I think they turned out pretty nice, and they're a nice recreation of the actual wings from a ladybug, so a pretty cool item here. They did release for 1000 Robux, which might seem like a lot, but a lot of these wings back in the day released for around that price, so when compared to all the other wings, I would say it's a pretty average price, but nowadays they could be seen as a bit more on the expensive side. And when you do wear them, they look actually pretty nice as well, so you could definitely make a nice spring outfit with these wings here. Next up over here, we have the enormous spider legs. These are the ones I would say of all these items that did the best. They were used quite a lot, especially back in the day. They're also pretty notable for, if you guys remember that Despacito spider meme that happened on Roblox. These were the legs that were used in that meme, so definitely a pretty notable item here that released as a part of this weekend. I think the actual item itself looks really nice too. I think the details on the legs themselves are pretty cool. It did release for 2000 Robux, so it's actually a pretty expensive item, but I think it's worth it given how it looks. So definitely a pretty cool item here, and one that definitely stands out when you do wear it. You can see it goes out pretty far, so definitely a really nice item to have and released as a part of this weekend here. Next up right over here, we do have this big bug net, which looks like a pretty simple net item here, nothing too special, but if you do wear it, you can definitely make a pretty nice spring outfit as well. So I think that generic kind of look does help if you do want to make a more simple outfit. It is 500 Robux, which is also a pretty average price for a lot of gear items, so a pretty decent item here that did release for the spring season. And if you do wear it, it pretty much goes how you'd expect it to. You hold it down here and the net is up near the head, so a pretty cool gear item that would work well with a bunch of different spring outfits. Next up right over here, we have Ladybug shades. I think this is the one that is probably the most forgotten of this weekend. It only has around 1000 favorites, which for an on sale item is pretty low. It's a pretty decent pair of shades. It definitely fits the Ladybug theme pretty well. Unfortunately, I think the price is what's holding it back. It is 200 Robux, which isn't the most expensive thing. However, for a pair of shades, it is on the more expensive side, so I think that's probably what stopped a lot of people from purchasing it. But it's still on sale, and it's a pretty cool looking pair of shades that if you do have a Ladybug themed outfit would fit pretty nicely with it. So definitely pretty cool underrated pair of shades that Roblox released as a part of this weekend. And when you do wear them, they look pretty decent as well. Of course, my face is a little bit different, so it doesn't look the greatest with my face, but of course you can also move it with the accessory adjustment feature to fit any face that you might have. Next up right over here, the fly tie. This one also looks pretty cool. I love this kind of blue and green background. I think it's pretty interesting with the flies and ladybugs on it as well, so a pretty interesting design. It's also very cheap with it being 50 Robux, so very affordable. Unfortunately did not do as well. Similar to Ladybug shades, not that many favorites, but for a very cheap item, it is probably on the rarer side, so definitely a pretty cool item here to have been released, and still a nice item you can get for pretty cheap today. And when you do wear it, it does go on the front of the torso. Of course my hair is blocking it a bit, but you can definitely see it goes where most of the ties go, right over there in the middle of the torso to create a fun look. Next up right over here, we have the butterfly lapel pin. This one actually did very well, has over 16,000 favorites, so unlike the fly tie, this one was on the more successful side, despite also being a pretty cheap item. It does look pretty cool though. I think it's a nice recreation of the butterfly pattern, and most of these lapel pins actually do pretty well just because of how cheap they are, so definitely a pretty nice item here to have been released as a part of this weekend, and one you can still purchase today. Similarly, to the other one, it does go on top of the torso. It does sit right over there, so definitely a pretty cute item here that is relatively cheap that you can make a nice outfit with. And the last item that released as a part of this weekend was the Moth bow tie. This one also looks pretty cool. It's a nice recreation of a moth. I think the patterns on it are pretty nice, so definitely a pretty cute little item here that released. It is only 100, so definitely a pretty cheap item that you can still get today if you do want to get it. And of course, similar to the tie, it does go in the middle of the torso right over there, so can definitely make a nice look with this one if you have especially an orange kind of outfit to fit with the patterns. That would definitely work well with this item. So yeah, those were the releases for this weekend in March 2017. I think it was actually a pretty interesting weekend with a lot of fun bug themed items here that are all still available for purchase today. But yeah, that is my video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!